The explosion stopped. Jinho Park pressed his face against the cold concrete wall and listened. Nothing but the sound of fire crackling somewhere in the distance. His hands shook as he wiped sweat from his eyes. The mining facility around him looked like a metal graveyard. 3 hours ago, everything had been different. Jinho was fixing a broken drill in the deep tunnels when the alarm started screaming. He ran to the surface with his tools still in his hands. The other miners were already grabbing weapons from the emergency boxes. Nobody talked much. They all knew what the alarms meant. The hegemony had come to Kepler 438b. Jinho was not a real soldier. He was just a mining engineer who learned how to shoot a rifle during basic training. But when Lieutenant Miho Kim handed him extra ammunition, Jinho took it without questions. Everyone on the mining colonies knew the rules. When aliens attacked, everyone fought. "Stay close to me," Miho had said. "Your job is to fix things when they break. My job is to keep you alive while you do it." Jinho nodded. He liked Miho. The lieutenant was young but smart. He treated the miners like real people, not just workers with numbers. They waited in the trenches outside the facility for 2 hours. The other colonies had gone quiet on the radio one by one. First Outpost 7. Then Mining Station Delta. Then nothing but static from the northern settlements. "Whatever they sent," Miho said quietly, "it's big." The ground started shaking before they saw anything. A deep rumbling that made loose rocks dance in the dirt. Some of the younger miners looked scared. Jinho felt scared too, but he had worked in unstable tunnels before. Shaking ground was something he understood. Then they saw it coming over the hill. The thing was huge. 12 feet tall and built like a nightmare. Its body was part machine and part something else. Something that might have been alive once. Metal plates covered most of its skin, but Jinho could see organic tissue underneath where the plates moved. It walked on 2 legs like a person, but each step left deep prints in the hard ground. The worst parts were its arms. Instead of hands, it had claws made from some kind of bright metal. Each claw was as long as Jinho's forearm. And on its shoulders, 2 weapons that looked like small cannons were pointed forward. "Contact," Miho said into his radio. His voice was steady, but Jinho saw his hands shaking a little. "We have visual on the target." The radio crackled back. "All units, this is command. You are looking at a Ravager-class biomechanical assault unit. Do not engage in close combat. Repeat, do not engage in close combat." Too late for that advice. The thing was already running toward them. Jinho had never seen anything move so fast. The creature covered the distance between the hill and their trenches in seconds. The ground shook harder with each step. The metal plates on its body shifted and changed color as bullets bounced off them. "Fire! Fire everything!" Miho shouted. 20 rifles opened up at once. Jinho aimed carefully like they taught him in training. His shots hit the creature's center mass, but they didn't slow it down. The metal plates on its skin rippled like water, then turned a darker color. The bullets that came after just bounced off harder. "It's learning," someone yelled. "The armor is adapting." The creature's shoulder weapons started glowing. Jinho had seen plasma cutters in the mines, but those were small tools for cutting through rock. These were weapons designed to cut through people. The first plasma blast hit the trench 20 feet to Jinho's left. The dirt melted into glass. The 3 miners who were hiding there simply disappeared. Jinho rolled out of his position just as the second blast hit where he had been lying. The heat made his face feel like he was standing too close to a furnace. "Fall back to the facility," Miho ordered. "Use the buildings for cover." They ran. Jinho had never run so hard in his life. Behind them, the plasma blasts kept coming. Each shot melted metal and stone like they were made of butter. The creature was taking its time now, hunting them like animals. Miho made it to the main building first. He turned around and kept shooting to cover the others. "Come on. Move." Jinho was almost to safety when he heard Miho scream his name. He turned and saw the creature standing right behind the lieutenant. Up close, it was even more horrible. The organic parts of its body were breathing. The mechanical parts hummed with power. Miho fired his rifle point blank into the creature's chest. The shots just bounced off. The creature reached down with one metal claw and picked Miho up like he weighed nothing. "Run, Jinho," Miho shouted. "Get to the tunnels." The plasma cannon on the creature's shoulder turned toward Miho. Jinho closed his eyes, but he still saw the flash through his eyelids. When he opened them again, Miho was gone. Just gone. The creature's head turned toward Jinho. Its eyes were not machine eyes or animal eyes. They were something else. Something that enjoyed killing. Jinho ran into the building. The structure was damaged from the plasma blast. Metal beams had fallen everywhere. Some of the support walls had collapsed. It looked dangerous, but Jinho knew dangerous buildings. He had worked in unstable mines his whole life. He found a gap between two fallen beams and squeezed through. The space was too small for the big creature to follow easily. Behind him, he heard metal scraping against concrete as the thing tried to force its way after him. Jinho crawled deeper into the wreckage. His mining tools were still on his belt. His hands were steady now. The fear was still there, but something else was growing alongside it. The creature had killed his friends. It had killed Miho. Now it wanted to kill him. But Jinho Park was not just another soldier. He was an engineer. He understood how things were built. And if he could understand how something was built, maybe he could understand how to take it apart. Jinho crawled through the twisted metal like he was back in the mining tunnels. His knees scraped against broken concrete, but he kept moving. Behind him, the creature was trying to follow. The sound of metal scraping against metal echoed through the collapsed building. He had spent 15 years working in tight spaces underground. Small tunnels did not scare him. But they should scare something that was 12 feet tall. Jinho stopped crawling and looked back. The creature was stuck. Its wide shoulders were wedged between two fallen support beams. The metal plates on its body were shifting and changing, trying to make the creature smaller. But there was only so much the armor could do. The plasma cannons on its shoulders could not turn down far enough to aim at Jinho. They were designed to shoot at targets on the same level, not at something crawling on the ground below. Jinho smiled for the first time since the attack started. The creature made an angry sound that was half machine noise and half animal growl. It pushed harder against the beams. Metal bent and concrete cracked, but the creature was not moving fast anymore. Jinho crawled further into the wreckage. He knew this building well. He had helped design some of the support systems when they first built the mining facility. There were maintenance tunnels that connected to the main processing areas. If he could remember the layout correctly, he could lead the creature exactly where he wanted it to go. Behind him, the creature finally broke free from the beams. But breaking through had taken time and effort. Jinho could hear it breathing hard. The organic parts of its body were working harder now. He found the maintenance tunnel entrance and squeezed inside. The tunnel was just wide enough for a human to crawl through. It was definitely not wide enough for a 12-foot monster. The creature's claws scraped against the tunnel entrance as it tried to follow. Jinho heard metal tearing as the creature forced its way in. The tunnel walls were not built to handle that kind of stress. Jinho kept crawling. His mining experience told him exactly how much weight these tunnels could handle. The creature was too heavy. Too wide. The tunnel was going to collapse if it kept pushing through. But that was not what Jinho wanted. Not yet. He reached a junction where the maintenance tunnel connected to a larger service corridor. This space was bigger but still not big enough for the creature to stand up straight. Jinho rolled out of the tunnel and looked around. The service corridor was full of broken equipment and fallen ceiling panels. Jinho could see heat marks on the walls where the creature's body had been touching. The metal plates on its skin were getting hot. That was interesting. Very interesting. Jinho had worked with machinery his whole life. When machines worked too hard, they got hot. When they got too hot, they started breaking down. The creature's armor was a machine, even if parts of its body were organic. The creature squeezed out of the maintenance tunnel like a cork coming out of a bottle. Its metal plates were glowing slightly now. The organic parts of its body were covered in sweat or some other fluid. Up close, Jinho could see how the creature was built. The organic parts looked like they might have been human once but changed somehow. Muscles and bone that had been made stronger and bigger. The mechanical parts were attached at specific points where the organic body was reinforced with metal. The connections between flesh and machine were the most interesting parts. Jinho could see small cables and tubes running from the mechanical armor into the organic body. Those connections had to carry power and control signals. They were the creature's weak points. But they were also the most protected parts. Heavy armor surrounded each connection point. Jinho started moving deeper into the building. The creature followed, but it was moving slower now. The tight spaces were forcing it to crawl and bend in ways it was not designed for. Every few minutes, Jinho would stop and watch. The creature's armor kept shifting and adapting, but it was fighting a losing battle. The armor was designed to stop bullets and energy weapons. It was not designed to handle constant physical stress from crawling through small spaces. Small cracks were starting to appear where the mechanical parts connected to the organic body. The cracks were tiny, but they were getting bigger each time the creature had to squeeze through another tight spot. Jinho led the creature through 3 more maintenance areas. Each space was a little smaller than the last. Each space forced the creature to work a little harder to get through. By the time they reached the main processing area, the creature was making different sounds. Not just angry growls anymore. Some of the sounds seemed like pain. The processing area was the heart of the mining facility. It was a big open space, but all the equipment had been damaged in the attack. Broken machinery and fallen support structures created a maze of obstacles. Jinho knew this room better than anywhere else in the facility. He had maintained every piece of equipment here. He knew exactly where the main support column was located. The column that held up the entire central section of the building. The creature entered the processing area and straightened up for the first time in an hour. Its armor plates were glowing hot now. Steam was rising from the organic parts of its body. But the creature was still dangerous. Maybe more dangerous now because it was angry and hurting. Jinho looked at the massive support column in the center of the room. The plasma blast from earlier had damaged it. Cracks ran up and down its length. It was still holding, but barely. If that column fell, it would bring down half the building. The question was whether Jinho could survive what the creature could not. He picked up a piece of broken rebar from the floor. It was heavy and sharp on one end. The creature saw him and started moving forward. Its claws scraped against the metal floor. Jinho ran toward the support column. The creature followed. It was time to find out if human engineering could beat alien technology. Jinho ran between the broken machines looking for what he needed. The creature was right behind him, but it was moving slower now. The hot armor plates were making steam every time they touched the cooler air. He found the first power cell near an overturned conveyor belt. The cell was cracked but still had energy inside. Jinho had used cells like this 1,000 times in the mines. They were designed to power heavy equipment for hours without stopping. They were also designed to explode in a very specific way if you damaged them correctly. Jinho pulled out his multi-tool and started working on the cell's outer casing. The creature was getting closer, but Jinho needed 30 more seconds. Just 30 seconds. The creature's claws swept through the air where Jinho's head had been a moment before. He rolled under a fallen support beam and kept working on the power cell. His hands moved automatically. He had done this kind of work so many times he could do it in the dark. 20 seconds. The creature tried to reach him under the beam, but its arm was too big. The metal plates on its shoulders scraped against the beam as it tried to get a better angle. 10 seconds. Jinho finished the modification and threw the power cell toward the damaged wall on the far side of the room. The creature's head turned to follow the movement. 5 seconds. The explosion was not huge, but it was exactly what Jinho wanted. The blast brought down a section of the wall, but more importantly, it shifted the weight distribution in the building. The main support column groaned and developed new cracks. The creature spun around to look at Jinho. Its eyes were glowing brighter now. The organic parts of its face showed something that might have been confusion. It had been designed to fight enemies that used normal weapons. Jinho was not fighting like a normal enemy. Jinho was already moving toward the second power cell. This one was bigger and still mostly intact. It was also closer to another weak point in the building's structure. The creature learned from the first explosion. Instead of chasing Jinho directly, it moved to cut off his escape route. The plasma cannons on its shoulders started glowing. Jinho dropped flat on the ground just as the plasma blast passed over his head. The shot melted a hole in the wall behind him, but it also did something the creature had not expected. The plasma blast hit a coolant line that ran through the wall. Supercooled liquid sprayed out of the broken line. When it hit the creature's hot armor plates, the metal made sharp cracking sounds. Rapid temperature changes were bad for any kind of metal, even alien metal. Jinho grabbed the second power cell and started running toward the center of the room. The creature followed, but its movements were different now. Some of the armor plates were not shifting as smoothly as before. The constant temperature changes were affecting the adaptive systems. The main support column was 30 feet away. Jinho could see exactly where the plasma damage had weakened it. If he could create the right kind of explosion at the right place, the column would fail in a controlled collapse. But he needed the creature to be in exactly the right position when it happened. Jinho found the third power cell near the main control panel. This one was the biggest of all. It had enough energy to power the entire processing area for a full day shift. The creature was learning to predict his movements now. It moved to block his path to the support column. The plasma cannons were charging up again. Jinho did something the creature did not expect. Instead of running away, he ran directly toward it. The plasma blast missed him by inches. The creature's claws swept down toward him, but Jinho was already sliding between its legs. The modified power cell in his hands was beeping faster now. The timer he had set was almost finished. He came up behind the creature and threw the power cell at the base of the support column. Then he ran as hard as he could toward the far wall. The creature turned to follow him, putting itself directly between Jinho and the support column. The explosion shook the entire building. The support column cracked all the way through and started to fall. But it did not fall straight down. Jinho had calculated the angle carefully. The column fell toward the creature. 12 feet of biomechanical nightmare was fast, but not fast enough to dodge a falling building support that weighed several tons. The column hit the creature across its back and drove it to the ground. The creature was not crushed, but it was pinned. Its legs were trapped under the heavy concrete and steel. Jinho stood up and watched the creature struggle. The armor plates were still trying to adapt, but they could not change the basic laws of physics. The creature was incredibly strong, but the support column was incredibly heavy. More importantly, the creature's power systems were starting to fail. Jinho could see sparks coming from some of the connection points between the organic and mechanical parts. The constant stress and temperature changes had damaged the delicate interfaces. The creature looked at Jinho with its glowing eyes. For the first time, those eyes showed something other than programmed aggression. They showed fear. Jinho walked slowly toward the pinned creature. He still had the piece of rebar in his hand. The creature tried to reach him with its claws, but the support column limited its range of movement. "You were designed to fight armies," Jinho said quietly. "But armies fight in open spaces with weapons and tactics you understand." He knelt down just outside the creature's reach and studied the connection points where flesh met machine. "I am not an army. I am an engineer. And I understand exactly how you are put together." The creature made a sound that was part growl and part electronic whine. Some of the armor plates were flickering now, losing power. Jinho raised the piece of rebar and aimed it at the largest interface connection he could see. "Now let me show you how things come apart." Jinho positioned the rebar like a lever against the first interface point. The creature's armor was designed to stop bullets and energy blasts, but it had never been tested against sustained mechanical pressure at precise stress points. The connection he was targeting looked like a small metal box where cables from the armor disappeared into the creature's neck. Organic tissue had grown around the box, but Jinho could see where the original surgical cuts had been made. He pushed down on the rebar. The metal interface started to bend. The creature's whole body jerked. Sparks flew from the connection point. The armor plates on the creature's left arm stopped moving and locked in place. "Interesting," Jinho said to himself. Each interface controlled different parts of the armor system. The creature tried to grab him with its right arm, but the support column still limited its movement. Its claws scraped against the concrete floor, leaving deep gouges. Jinho moved to the second interface. This one was larger and had more cables running into it. It was located just below the creature's shoulder where one of the plasma cannons was mounted. He wedged the rebar into place and applied pressure. This connection was stronger than the first one. Jinho had to use his full body weight to make it bend. The creature made a sound like screaming metal. The plasma cannon on its right shoulder flickered and went dark. More sparks flew from the damaged interface. But breaking the second connection had consequences Jinho had not expected. With the plasma cannon offline, power was being redirected to other systems. The creature's free arm was getting stronger. The claws swept toward Jinho again, and this time they came much closer. One claw caught his jacket and tore through it like paper. If Jinho had been a second slower, the claw would have torn through him instead. He rolled away and looked for the next interface point. The creature was learning to compensate for its damaged systems, but each broken connection made it less stable overall. The third interface was the most protected one. It was located in the center of the creature's chest, surrounded by the thickest armor plating. Jinho could see why it was so well protected. This connection seemed to control the creature's core functions. Getting to it meant getting within range of the creature's claws. Jinho studied the creature's movement patterns. The support column pinned its legs, but its torso could still twist about 30 degrees in each direction. The right arm had full movement, but the left arm was locked in place by the first interface damage. He would have one chance to get close enough. If he missed, the creature would tear him apart. Jinho waited until the creature's right arm was fully extended, reaching for him. Then he darted forward, staying on the creature's left side where the damaged arm could not defend. The rebar slid into place against the central interface. Jinho pushed with everything he had. The connection was much stronger than the others. The metal housing was thicker and the organic tissue around it had grown into complex patterns. This was not just a control interface. This was the main power distribution point for the entire armor system. The creature realized what Jinho was doing. It twisted its body violently, trying to shake him off. But the movement put even more stress on the interface connection. Something gave way with a loud crack. The creature's entire armor system flickered like a broken light. All the metal plates stopped shifting and adapting. The glow faded from its eyes. But the creature was not dead. The organic parts were still very much alive and very angry. Without the armor's power assistance, the creature was slower and weaker, but it was still much stronger than a human. And now it was desperate. Jinho barely dodged the next claw strike. Without the armor's targeting systems, the creature's attacks were less precise, but they were also more unpredictable. He needed to finish this quickly. The creature was learning to fight without its mechanical advantages. Jinho spotted the fourth interface point near the base of the creature's skull. This one was different from the others. Instead of metal housing, it looked like organic tissue that had been modified with mechanical implants. This was not just a control interface. This was where the creature's organic brain connected to its mechanical systems. Getting to it meant getting behind the creature's head. That meant getting past both arms and staying close enough to do damage. The creature was thrashing wildly now, using its superior strength to break free from the support column. Cracks were spreading through the concrete. Soon it would be loose. Jinho made his move. He ran straight at the creature's face, then dropped and slid underneath its thrashing right arm. The creature's claws passed over his head as he came up behind its shoulder. The final interface was right in front of him. He could see individual cables and organic nerve fibers running through the connection. This was the creature's most vulnerable point. Jinho dropped the rebar and used his hands directly. His fingers found the gaps between the mechanical implants and the organic tissue. The creature went completely wild. It knew what was happening. It knew this was the connection that kept its enhanced body working properly. Jinho pulled. Art. The first cable came free with a spray of organic fluid. The creature's left side went completely limp. The second cable was harder to reach, but Jinho's mining strengthened grip found it. The creature's movements became uncoordinated as conflicting signals reached its nervous system. The third cable was the thickest one. It felt warm and pulsed like a heartbeat. This was the main neural connection. Jinho wrapped both hands around it and pulled with everything he had. The cable tore free from the creature's skull. The creature made one final sound. Then it went completely still. The beast that had destroyed 3 human colonies was finally quiet. Jinho sat back on his heels, breathing hard. His hands were covered in organic fluid and his own blood from dozens of small cuts. But he was alive. And the creature that armies could not stop was dead. Jinho sat in the silence for a long moment. His hands were shaking again, but this time it was from exhaustion, not fear. The creature lay still under the fallen support column. Its armor plates had gone completely dark. Then something started beeping. The sound was coming from somewhere inside the creature's chest. A small red light was blinking through a gap in the armor plating. Jinho had never seen anything like it, but he understood what it meant. The creature had some kind of automatic distress signal. The beeping got faster. Whatever message it was sending, it was finishing soon. Jinho tried to reach the device, but it was too deep inside the creature's body. The signal kept transmitting for another 30 seconds, then stopped. The red light went dark. Somewhere in orbit above the planet, the alien hegemony fleet had just received a message they never expected to get. 2 hours later, Jinho heard voices calling his name. Human voices. "In here," he shouted. "I'm in the processing center." Commander Yuna Choi was the first person to reach him. She was a small woman with serious eyes who ran the local resistance cell. Behind her came 6 other fighters, all carrying heavy weapons and medical supplies. Yuna stopped when she saw the dead creature. Her mouth fell open. "Is that what I think it is?" she asked quietly. "Ravager-class biomechanical assault unit," Jinho said. He was trying to remember the exact words from the radio transmission. At least, that's what Command called it. One of the other fighters, a young man named Do-Hyun, walked around the creature's body with his rifle raised. "How did you kill it? What kind of explosives did you use?" "No explosives," Jinho said. "Just this." He held up the piece of rebar. The fighters looked at each other. Then they looked at the 12-foot monster lying dead on the floor. "You killed this thing with a piece of metal?" Yuna asked. "I killed it by understanding how it was built," Jinho replied. "The armor was designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles. It was not designed to handle sustained mechanical stress at specific structural points." Jinho showed them the damaged interface connections. He explained how each system was connected and why breaking them in the right order had disabled the creature's abilities. Yuna listened carefully. She had been an engineer herself before the war started. "The neural interfaces," she said, pointing to the creature's skull. "Are they intact?" "Mostly," Jinho said. "I saved the main processor unit and 2 of the secondary controllers. I thought they might be important." Yuna's eyes lit up. "Important?" Jinho, these are the control systems for their most advanced weapon. Our scientists have been trying to get this kind of technology for months. She activated her portable communicator. This is Resistance Cell 7 to Command Base. We need immediate extraction and a full science team. We have recovered intact hegemony biomechanical components. The reply came back within minutes. Confirmed, Cell 7. Transport is en route. This information is being forwarded to all resistance cells immediately. While they waited for pickup, Yuna helped Jinho document everything that had happened. She recorded his explanation of how the creature's systems worked and how he had disabled them. The important thing, Jinho said as they finished the recording, is that their weapons are designed to counter our technology. They study our tactics and our equipment and build countermeasures. But they cannot counter human knowledge and determination. What do you mean? Yuna asked. I mean, they built this creature to be unstoppable by armies using standard military equipment. Plasma weapons, projectile weapons, energy shields. They programmed it to adapt to every kind of attack we normally use in combat. Jinho pointed to the creature's damaged armor. But they never considered that someone might attack it with basic engineering principles. They never thought about what would happen if someone just pulled the machine apart piece by piece. The transport ship arrived an hour later. The science team was very excited about the intact neural interfaces. They carefully removed the components and packed them in special containers. Dr. Sunho Lee, the lead scientist, shook Jinho's hand before they loaded the creature's remains. This intelligence will change everything, Dr. Lee said. Now we understand how their biomechanical integration works. We can develop countermeasures for their other weapons. As the transport lifted off, Yuna sat down next to Jinho in the passenger compartment. Your report is already being transmitted to every human settlement, she said. Command wants every resistance cell to know what happened here. What happened here was not magic, Jinho said. Any engineer could have done the same thing if they understood the creature's design. Maybe, Yuna said. But you were the one who stayed calm enough to figure it out. You were the one who led it into a confined space and systematically disabled its advantages. She handed him a copy of the message that was being sent across human space. Jinho read the final paragraph. The enemy builds their weapons to counter our technology and military tactics. They study our strengths and create countermeasures. But they cannot study what makes us human. Our ability to adapt, to understand, to refuse to give up when facing impossible odds. Today, one human engineer defeated their most advanced weapon using nothing but knowledge, determination, and his bare hands. They can match our technology, but they cannot match our humanity. Jinho folded the message and put it in his pocket. Through the transport's window, he could see other human settlements in the distance. Lights were coming on in buildings that had been dark since the attack started. The war was far from over. But now the humans had something they had not had before. They had proof that the enemy could be beaten.